Hi, it's Charisma at Charisma's Corner again, and we are in week 2 of the Charm Sampler. And so this is the most difficult row, only because we're doing curved piecing. I don't know why people get so intimidated by curved piecing, or why they say that's difficult, but I liked curved piecing. It's not that big of a deal to me, but here's a little tip. The smaller the curve, or the smaller the block, the more difficult it is. The bigger the curve, the smoother it is. It's a gentler arc, and it is easier to sew and make everything line up. So this is, a charm square, and they're pretty easy. I didn't have a lot of problems, but in the instructions I show you how to pin them, the two sides together, if you want to go that route. But I kind of go rogue and I just sort of line them up and sew them, and I'll show you how I do that. So, and then just a little, so this is the row that we're working on, and I just am doing a scrappy version of that. You can see here, I didn't color plan any of the colors. And when I did my background color, I had some of these extra low volume charm squares, so I decided just to throw those in. Just because this is sort of just a old layer cake that I had in my stash, and I'm just trying to use up some of the stuff that I have, so I encourage you to do the same. My big quilt here, the finished sample on the cover, was made with Michael Miller Cotton Couture solids, because I love their solids, and they have over 200 and some colors, so I was just sort of playing with colors and a variety when I did this original piece. But for the demo, I'm just using stash. It's probably 10 years old, something along those lines, that I just need to get used up. So for the public service announcement, I'm just going to say this. On the page with the templates for our Drunkard Path blocks here, we have a test square. Now, if you're anything like me, you will probably most of the time look at that, chuck it, cut out your templates, and start going. I realize I will never do that again, and here's the reason why. As a designer, I had to recall a bunch of patterns because my printer did this funky little thing, and it started printing all of these wrong, even though the settings were right. So I had to call distributors, shops, customers. It was this nightmare. Apparently I'm not the only person that has happened to. But here's the little thing. We want to make sure that our test square lines up, and it's perfectly 1 inch. I know I'm good to go. If you have to fudge it even 1/8 of an inch, that means it's wrong. 1/8 of an inch can screw up the whole thing. I've learned the hard way. So there's our little public service announcement about using your test square. Test it every time you come across this in a pattern. Very important. Don't want to have to start all over or rip out quilt blocks just because you skipped that little step, okay? Okay, so now we have our templates here, and I just cut them out with my scissors, and then I lined them up on my block. I was going to do that and forgot. But I cut out my little pieces with my rotary cutter. That's all I did. Nothing super special, fantastic about any of that. But now I have my two sides here. And this is the block that we are making right here. And so you can see how this one sort of didn't line up all the way. This one looks fine. But all I do is take my square, and I just line this up just like that. And this is where I'm going to start sewing right here. And I'm going to show you on the machine how I hold each fabric with both of my hands, and I just ease it through, and I have no problems. There's no pinning, no nothing. So here we go. I'm just going to put my foot down right there. I'm going to sew about 1/4 inch. Okay, so I have that, and now I'm just going to kind of line those up, and you just want to feed both of these layers as you go. So I have this top one in my hand, and I'm directing this bottom one with my other hand, and I'm just going to feed those together as I go along, and they line right up. So I'll take it over here to the pressing mat, and you can see how they just line up perfectly there. And there we have our drunkard's path. So I'm just going to walk you through that one more time. Okay, so I have my background and my circle, and I'm just going to line it up like that, and then I'm going to sew 1/4 inch and then feed them through. You just kind of want to put that stay stitch, and now you're going to just hold this top one with your left hand, and I'm holding the bottom one with my right hand, and I'm just feeding them through. And now we have our drunkard's path blocks. And as you can see, it looks like we have these 4 in a row, but when we construct them, we're actually constructing just 2 patches at a time. So we can go ahead and do that. Here are the last 2. So I'm just going to go ahead and sew those together and then sew them onto the row. And you can pin them in the middle to make sure that the seams nestle for your little 4 patch here. Okay, now we have that block sewn onto this row, and I'm just going to press that. And here we have our drunkard's path row that is just ready. Row 2, yay! It's really coming together. This is the X and O row, and this row are really what give this little quilt the little charm. So stay tuned, and next week we'll be posting week 3. Thanks for joining along on this charmed sampler row along.